And through my time with him, I got a chance to see what was needed to run a business. If I didn't have him, I don't think I would be in this position today.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Just a little video there, a little sneak peek on what we have coming up for you all this morning. So I wanted to give everybody a little bit of an opportunity to get in the doors and get to their seats. I'm sure everybody probably has their own seat already with them. So welcome for joining us for the webinar series. This is Massachusetts is Leading Manufacturing into the Future. Today, our webinar, Manufacturing Massachusetts, Branding for the Future of Manufacturing, the Importance of Manufacturing to the Massachusetts Ecosystem. And we're going to be talking about developing future talent in advanced manufacturing, as you saw from the video, at such an opportune moment in time as manufacturing has been the champion in the fight against COVID-19. I am Haley Steele. I'm the marketing manager with Mass MEP. I will be your moderator for the webinar. But today we do have a special host with us. It is Mike Tomasi. He is the owner and CEO of AccuRounds. And he will be joined by our panelists. We have Kelly French with us. She is the Deputy Director at Mass Hire North Central Workforce Board. Dave Cruz is the President and CEO of Mass Hire Hampden County, and our very own Sean Killam, who is the Mass MEP Director of Public Affairs. So thank you all for joining us. As you can see, your mics are muted currently, but there will be plenty of ways for you to engage with us this morning. We do have the Q&A in the chat in case some of you have, like I always say, been living under a rock for the past 10 months and haven't had an opportunity to join anyone on a Zoom call. You are very fortunate, but today you are with us. So the chat bubble and the Q&A are down on the bottom. Please feel free. We encourage you to pop in your questions. If you'd like to chat specifically with a panelist, there is an option to do that down below. You can just click on the panelist name and send them a private chat, or you can send it directly to all the panelists that are on with us today, and of course our host. So we would ask that if you have a question, more than likely, if you put it in the Q&A, somebody else in the audience probably has the same question. So go ahead and put it in there so that everyone can see. We do have an agenda for today. We have this little video we're going to show you, and then our host, Mike Tomasi, will be joined by the panelists, and he will ask them some questions, and they'll engage in a little fireside chat forum. And then that will allow us to open the floor for the last 15 minutes, as we would like to do a virtual audience Q&A session. So we will open your mics, and we will ask that you raise your hand. There is a little raise your hand option on the bottom. You click raise your hand, and we'll be sure to ask you to ask your question. We do have an hour set aside. We feel it's plenty of time for the content, the chat, and the Q&A. We will be respectful of your time, our host time, and our panelists' time. So if we do begin to run over, if they want to stay on a little bit, we encourage that, and we would like to. But if not, and we don't get the chance to answer your question directly on the live webinar, we will be happy to answer those questions, and we can email the answers to you directly. We are on Facebook Live this morning, so hello to everybody out there in the Facebook world. This is a great option for us because now this webinar will live live out on our Facebook account. So if there was somebody that couldn't make it today, they're going to miss out on a good one, but fortunately for them, they'll be able to catch it again on Facebook. So you just go to the Mass MEP Facebook page under our videos, and you'll be able to watch it. So we're going to continue. We're going to watch the rest of this little video, and then we're going to turn it over to our host, Mike Tomasi. Maybe not. Here we go.
What are you doing? You're learning how to what? Add? Yeah. Is this the first time you've ever done this in your life? Who taught you this?
Dad.
I bought her a lot of educational items, like games. She would get 100% on this. And then when she got to school, she might got a B once in her whole life.
When she had a goal, man, she had to finish it and she had to do it A+ or there was trouble. We had to make it an A++.
Okay, let's try that again.
Growing up, I always wanted to do something with animals. I had a huge passion for animals, but all of that changed my sophomore year in high school when my math teacher pulled me aside and asked, "You enjoy math, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, I love math. I love school." She said, "Do you enjoy science as well?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Did you ever look into engineering?" So I stuck with that, went to school, started at Youngstown State University for Industrial and Systems Engineering, and didn't look back, really.
When I used to ask people in the engineering class 30 years ago, how many of you are studying engineering because that's your ticket out of town? I'd get everybody raising their hand.
I met an individual named Dr. Marty Calla one Saturday afternoon, and it probably changed the rest of my life. For a couple weeks, I was welding underneath his 1967 convertible Chevelle.
There's a pair of feet sticking out from underneath my car, and I'm like, "What are you doing underneath my car welding? You should be in college." And he said, "Oh, I am. I'm a pre-med student." I said, "No, you're not. You're an engineering student now."
So I think there was a couple times where I sat back and I got done welding and I just didn't want to do this anymore. I wanted to do something that was meaningful.
Dr. Calla, he is like a father to me. He inspired me to take risks and really got me introduced to manufacturing. So I did some honors contracts with him, went to manufacturing facilities, did some really cool things, and found that everything you see and touch and feel is manufactured. It's passed through a manufacturing facility. He knew way back then that I really had a passion for teaching others, so he let me teach a class for him, which was amazing.
Teachers are discovered early on. There's something that she did when she was even younger, and she doesn't realize it.
I think my passion for teaching definitely comes from my dad, because I was shown at such a young age how to learn things that now I want to teach people how to learn, and I think that definitely comes from you.
Working was never a hard thing for me, ever. That was just something you had to do, and I got that from you, 100%. Growing up, I saw my father being in the manufacturing industry, from being a general laborer to a representative of the union, to being a manager and a supervisor of a very large aluminum extrusion plant. And that's where I really knew right then and there that you are not stuck in life. You can do anything you want.
If we look at
Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Haley, for that. A little bit of inspiration to start our morning off. It's great to have some educators and industry representatives in the audience today. Again, my name is Michael Tomasi, and I co-chair the AMC, the Advanced Manufacturing Collaborative. The collaborative is part of the Mass Tech Collaborative. It sits under that. And more recently, the Mass Tech announced the start of the Center for Advanced Manufacturing. And that was announced in the fall. They recently hired Christine Nolan as director. We're extremely excited to have her on board and direct the center. The AMC, for people that aren't familiar with that, has 3 working groups: innovation, business environment, and talent and branding. And today we're going to focus on the talent and branding piece. You saw in that video a little of the old school and some of the new school. And I like to use the term, we're no longer dark, dirty, and dangerous, but we've moved to safe, smart, and sustainable. And hopefully today, you may be involved or you want to get involved in helping our local ecosystem promote how exciting and vibrant advanced manufacturing is. The state certainly has stepped up in many ways, and I would say this year in particular, with the launch of MERT. People may not be familiar with that term, the Emergency Response Team from Massachusetts, which was kicked off when the pandemic hit in March. And that group of some tremendous talented people helped companies in Massachusetts pivot to make PPE. In a strange way, that activity and all that positive results of supporting our medical community really highlights the purpose of the AMC and the focus around the many different talents we have, not only to innovate, but to produce. And the vision for the center is to be the most complete, most connected, and fastest ecosystem to commercialize products, from innovation through production. We're known as an innovation state, but we have a lot of tremendous production capacity here, and that was highlighted in MERT. And we're hoping through this talent branding working group and through our talk today that we can help to promote, tell those stories, and drive some excitement. We have so many different new technologies and software and hardware that are being introduced to our industry. It's very exciting, from robotics to automation to 3D printing to machine monitoring to big data. The world is ever changing. It's never more exciting. And I think our time is now to really get the word out and attract talent into our industry. The state has stepped up in a tremendous way. They have advanced manufacturing training grants, which we'll talk about, $2.5 million a year, virtual training grants, $2 million a year. And most recently, the state was awarded from the Department of Defense a $3.2 million 3-year grant, which is titled MassBridge. And I am going to kick this over to Sean to help him introduce us to MassBridge and what that training program is all about. Sean?
Thank you, Mike. Everyone, so my name is Sean, and I'm working with Mass MEP. We work with America. We work with all of the 50 states. We work with Puerto Rico. We have a center manufacturing extension partnership in every state in Puerto Rico. My priority right now is Massachusetts, working with you to connect the workforce to manufacturers and vice versa. We need talent. Talent is natural born. We have people in Massachusetts right now that are looking for work. They may be working, they may be looking for different jobs. They may be coming up from school and into the workforce, where they may be unemployed and looking to step into something new. Everyone in the audience, I've seen the demographic, I've seen the profile who registered today. Everyone in the audience plays a part in making that happen, whether you're a parent, guidance counselor, or teacher, whether you're in industry, and we're gonna do this together. What's really encouraging about this is it truly is getting to the point where we have the best education system in the world. We have some of the best industries in the world, and we have some of the best people that want to make a change for the better. And we are smart, and we are sustainable, and we are safe, but we're always going to improve on that. And MassBridge is a great start. We're going to lead the training development for the nation right here in Massachusetts, and then we're going to share it with the rest of the other states so that they can follow the lead. I'm going to share with you a screen so that you can have some visuals, and I'll look at my mug on what the MassBridge might look like for you. We currently have a gap between someone who comes out of some of the best schools in Massachusetts and enters into the workforce. And that gap is going to grow wider and wider, because right now our industry is getting increasingly more technical in the nature of computerization, digital, new processes that are refined to the point where they are, humans can't make them any better. So we're relying on the computing power of the computer I'm speaking to you to help us get it better. So how do we bridge that gap with these technologies? Sort of taking a faster pace than we can get our hands on. Well, we do it together. It's simple. And this group that you see here, Manufacturing USA, Mass Hire, Mass Technology Collaborative, Mass MEP, community colleges like Quincy, Cape Cod, and MIT are working together weekly, together on Zoom, together to help identify where we're at today, real impression of what the training and education is to prepare the next generation workforce and to help those who are unemployed skill up so that they can jump into a job in manufacturing, which is desperately needed. We need the help in manufacturing. And so once we identify where we're at, we're going to look at where we're going. We can't predict the future, but we have a good idea of what it will take in order to shrink that gap and what the training and the education modules would look like. It's going to take everyone out there to do this. There's a gap right now that will be bridged, hence the Mass Bridge, that will be bridged over the course of the next 3 years. 3 years to come up with training that'll be delivered through the vocational schools, through the community colleges, and your training expertise is going to come from mass hires. These people are incredible, and many of you were out there, and they are lockstep in this process of helping develop this. There's no easy solutions. There's no obvious answers. It's just we have to figure this out together. We need your voice. If you're part of this ecosystem, if you're part of the education training industry, reach out to us. We're going to be working together to make it happen. I'll take you to 2020, what we looked like. We're pretty much in the same ballpark. Of course, we don't have exact numbers, but we have about 6,000 manufacturing companies in Massachusetts. Some of them are doing some of the most incredible things. As you heard with Mert, we were able to quickly pivot and help meet the basic needs of humanity of our people today. And we have a significant number of people employed. There's some very well-paying jobs. It's only going to get better if we work together to improve it. Real quickly on what Mass Bridge is aiming to help achieve. Well, across the nation, we have institutes that are, think of them as like R&D partnerships, trying to come up with the technological solutions that will help advance manufacturing even further than it has already been advanced. Take a look at AccuRounds, for example. Take a look at the company in West Bridgewater, CheerPack, for example. My child ate this for breakfast. This is the package in which food can come in, and you can store anything in this. Imagine how much space that takes up to ship and to make and to customize and to produce, get to market. We're going to continue to get better on everything, but we're going to get some technologies that are going to help us do it smarter, safer, more sustainable. We're going to work smarter, not harder. We have the potential of transforming the clothing that we wear and the textiles that go into things such as the ropes that hold our ships to anchor, and the sails that will be put onto the ships that help ship our products overseas, because we will be exporting our products, our solutions to the rest of the world. We will have additive manufacturing, which is the ability to manufacture without taking a piece of metal and cutting away from it, for example, but by producing it through printing and other extrusion and additive processes, which will be absolutely fascinating. It's not yet commercially viable. None of these necessarily are, but we're getting very close. We're getting prepared for that. This is a really critical one that you're seeing a lot in the news and probably online. The integration of light, photons, will be on our computer chips, the little brain powers of our computers, our phones, our telecommunication systems, the smart systems within our vehicles. So we'll be sending data, information at the speed of light, because that's what photons are. They're the minuscule little particles of light. We'll integrate those photonic capabilities, little lasers, onto these chips so that they'll be sending light back and forth. And that's what's in combination with LiDAR and making the self-driving vehicle possible. It's not just for cars. The possibilities are virtually endless. Cobots. Imagine a world where the dangerous jobs, tasks, the mundane, the one that no one wanted to do, could be automated safely with a little arm like that. And the integration of electronics into flexible materials so that my phone is no longer rigid, but we can fold it up and stick it in my pocket. It won't break. It'll be, if I drop it, it will be much lighter to ship, and our impact will be significantly less. Plus, think about all of the solutions we can come up with to help solve some of the problems like in the health sector and monitoring people like our military personnel. We'll be able to know where they are, what their vitals are, real time, because we'll have this ability through the integration of flexible hybrid electronics. That brings me to a close on the technology centric to MassBridge. There's one more, which is lift. I didn't highlight that. That's lightweight materials. We'll eventually be able to transform the materials that we use, the metals, et cetera, and making our manufacturing even that much better. And we're aiming to bridge the gap between where we're at today in manufacturing to where we'll be for technicians. That's the start. Mike, thank you for the floor there and answering that question. I hope I covered the basis.
Thanks much, Sean. MassBridge is very exciting. It looks to the future and bridging today's technologies into tomorrow. I'd like to ask Kelly to tell us a little bit about her virtual day that she hosted in the fall. And I think you're planning one for the spring in North Central. Is that correct?
Correct. We're doing quite a few things in order to really capture the young people that are in high schools, and also to bring awareness to professional development to teachers, parents, guidance people, so that they understand that manufacturing is this hidden gem of total, with a total ecological fit for so many different careers. So during Manufacturing Month in October, the Mass Hires put together one great site event, and we approached that to all of the schools in Massachusetts. High schools is where we had focused, but we had a good number of middle schools that join us as well. We had 2,300 students that went through the site. There was a lesson plan with 45 minutes where we highlighted companies, which was the largest and the most popular page in the whole event. And that was, kids wanted to know what we were making. So we had employers from across the state show what they were making and have virtual tours. So that was absolutely wonderful. And we had an exit interview that really allowed us to see what young people were thinking about manufacturing. And what we learned was that almost 60% did not know what manufacturing really was. They did not have any people that were in it or around them to be able to explain it to them and realize what a hidden gem it was. And then of that, once they went through this 45-minute, which again, it went from robotics to a lot of what you've just seen and what Sean talked about, they had the depth and breadth of all of that. And at the end of the exit interview, we had about 52% that were on the bubble of wanting to know. We asked them, would you be interested in a manufacturing career? So that there's great potential out there for these individuals and for students. It's just we need to get past that perception of the old manufacturing. So we plan to have this event again. We had it for 2 weeks. It was virtual and also flexible, that any teachers, schools could actually come and go as they wanted to. Again, it's about 45 minutes. We will change up the content, have it again in the spring, again, also to help a lot of the schools with their ability to market the programs that they have that are connected with manufacturing. And yeah, we're really excited about doing it again.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Kelly. I think one thing the state has done a really great job of in the last few years by rebranding Mass Hires, and they've created 4 regions that are the lead regions in the state for the advanced manufacturing grants. We have Kelly in North Central. We have one on the South Shore, one North Shore, and then in Western Mass, our good friend Dave Cruz, which Western Mass is a hotbed of supply chain advanced manufacturing activity. And Dave, if you could talk about some of the activities with the $625,000 that is being spent in your region, that'd be great.
Yeah, Mike, I wanted to thanks Mike and thank you all for making time in your busy schedules to join us this afternoon. And before I talk about that, I want to go back and pick up on something that Kelly said, and also want to kind of take you back to Nick and Ashley from Youngstown. I just met Nick and Ashley a few minutes ago, but I think Nick and Ashley's story is the story of Massachusetts. One of the key things we're trying to do here, and Mike talked about it in his opening comments, is how do we attract, develop, and retain talent, and particularly young people. And when you look a little bit at Ashley's story and Nick's story, three things kind of jumped out at me. One is, and I think it's something we can parlay into the work we're going to do in terms of our branding and our marketing, particularly as it's geared toward young people. Young people, and Nick and Ashley, were looking for a sense of purpose in their career. They wanted to do something that was important, and they wanted to understand why it was important. Two, they wanted to see an opportunity where they could continue to grow professionally and work in a setting where there was a commitment to continuous improvement. I don't think there's any better industry anywhere in the state other than advanced manufacturing that has a significant commitment to continuous improvement. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the investment that Mike just alluded to. It really speaks to the commitment that we all have about attracting, developing in particular, and retaining talent. And then I think the third thing that kind of jumped out at me when I was listening to Nick and Ashley is this issue of them wanting to have shared input. They wanted to be sure that their voice was heard in the operation of their business. And I have no doubt that in Nick's business and the work that Ashley does, that those young people who are reporting to them and work side by side with them, I know that they've learned from, I'm sure Nick from his grandfather, and it looks as though Ashley from her parents, that their ideas, their input, their voice is important. And in today's manufacturing floor, owners like Mike Tomasi, some of the leaders and innovators in this business, are really making certain that young people have an opportunity to share in decision-making, to be sure their ideas are listened to and heard. And if we're going to really make a concerted and collaborative effort to attract, develop, and retain young people, we need to make sure they see a sense of purpose in manufacturing as a profession, not as a job, not even as a career, but as a profession. Two, that they see that their employer is committed to professionally developing them and making certain that they grow. And third, that their voice and their input is going to be listened to. And to Mike's point, we here in Hampden County in the West have some funding from the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development. We're very committed to providing training for unemployed, underemployed individuals, particularly those individuals that have been permanently separated because of COVID-19. But also we have a significant commitment to commit our money to making certain that our incumbent workforce, those folks that come in every day, can remain technologically relevant. We're a state of small and medium-sized enterprises. You can see the screen that Sean showed where he listed the companies. This is about collaborating between the SMEs and the OEMs, and couldn't think of a better, again, a way to do this than under the umbrella of the Advanced Manufacturing Collaborative. And I want to underscore the word collaborative. That's what the collaborative is all about. It's those of you in the gallery today who are from industry, from education, from community services. It's all about connectivity. How do we collaborate with one another to be able to drive talent, attraction, development, and retention here in the state?
Thanks, Dave. I want to pick up on a couple of comments you made. You know, the whole co-location piece is something that the AMC has talked a lot about. And, you know, realizing what that meant through MERT and how tremendous the resources we have in this state, and we need to continue to take advantage of that. And we're talking about some technical training in many cases here, but, you know, the soft skill piece, right? And I know in each of the mass hires through their training, they offer, whether it's, you know, troubleshooting, communication, teamwork, they stress some of these soft skills, which are so important, you know, in advanced manufacturing, but really that's industry benign, right? Sean, would you talk for a minute or two about some of the offerings for Mass MEP to support some of the small and medium-sized enterprises in the state?
We're ready to roll up our sleeves and work. So what we're doing right now is we are, like everyone, looking after the people. That's key to this. we're looking after our people and manufacturing people and every people. This is, that's where it starts, but we also need to work on the process, and we need to work on the tools. We need to continue to improve all of them. And that is what Mass MEP does. So we are funded by the federal government and the state to do this. And through the Workforce Training Fund, we deliver training to companies. I don't want to say it's free to them or no cost to them. The cost is their time to improve. And we have the partners, let's call them partners. They're experts, they're coaches, they're friends, they're colleagues, but they're partners, and they're going to help you go through this. This is continuous improvement. It's lean. You've heard it called many different things, and we're going to help you go through, I'm speaking of industry, go through the digital transformation that will enable you to draw the talent, to be the company like the ones here in Massachusetts that have already established how to be successful in the future. We're going to help you get through this digital transformation with the help of the state. It's going to be incredible. So we do lean, we do a number of other resources like ISO certification, or at least preparing you for that our expert resources, our vendors, our partners help us deliver. We can help with safety. We can help make connections. We can help network. We can help identify technologies that are going to help propel you in your growth when you're ready to invest, when you're ready to take your growth to the next level. I encourage you to reach out to us and talk more about it. I'm not going to spend any more time here dwelling on the things that we can do. The thing is, we need to roll up our sleeves and get to work.
Thank you. I know being in Southeastern Mass, we have what's called the Southeastern Advanced Manufacturing Consortium, which in a sense is a subset of the AMC. And again, industry-led, and we talk a lot about job-driven training. Sector partnerships is another term that's used. We meet quarterly. We talk about the issues at hand, and we help to facilitate some of the funds that are being directed to advanced manufacturing. Kelly, can you talk about the engagement that you have with your local business leaders as well as educators to kind of stimulate some of that type of activity?
Absolutely. We, again, I think all of the mass hire consortiums mirror each other and really work with the best practices. So we also work with our employers in Central Mass, North Central Mass, and Metro Southwest. And what we're really looking to do is get their feedback. We have employer listening sessions where we hear what it is that they need so that we can help with what we have now with our training grant as a 5-year strategic plan, which has already identified the gaps of what it is that we're looking for. Again, we go back to employers to make sure that what we have researched is still valid. And then again, what we do is we provide them with the trainings and opportunities to train their incumbent workforce and give input to let us do that. We also have training providers that do wonderful trainings, Quinn Sigmund College, a lot of the Voc Tech schools. So it is a whole community that's working around, again, in the high schools, that's working around to provide this opportunity of branding. We go by what's called Remake 4.0, which is, again, we're in the fourth industrial revolution. And what we're seeing is that this is really important in order to make this happen as a whole, as I said, as a whole village. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, Mike, I think if the last 10 months have taught us anything, they taught us about the importance and the power of connectivity, about trying to find ways to stay connected with one another. And I think it's a really strong, powerful message for our gallery today, because I know we have representatives in the educational community, we have employers, and it's really, really critical that we build that kind of connectivity and be able to sustain that kind of connectivity. It's important for employers to become engaged in the educational institutions and training providers within their community, to stay connected to them, to help inform curriculum, make sure that curriculum is aligned with what's going on the factory floor. That connectivity also ensures that young people have an opportunity, either virtually or face-to-face, to visit companies, to do job shadowing, to have and find part-time work, to engage in cooperative education experiences, so that young people, when they're in high school and in their first year of community college, understand that what we're trying to focus on is the business of manufacturing. Not only are there CNC operators, but there's salesperson, programmers, and yes, owners. So we would strongly encourage all of you to use the Mass Hire boards, to use your local education partners, and stay connected, become engaged in the work that's going on. This is really all about, again, connectivity. And I think if the pandemic has taught us anything, is the power and importance of staying connected. And I think that message, when you look at branding and marketing, is really, really important to figure out how do you do that and how do you stay connected. That's how we're going to find talent.
Thanks, Dave. And you know, we're in such a dynamic industry. We had a presentation last week at our quarterly AMC meeting from the president of PTC, Jim Heppelman, and he talked about their products and how they're working in artificial intelligence and augmented reality and virtual reality. They're taking the physical and moving it into the digital, taking the digital, moving it into the physical. And these technologies are going to be impacting our industry in a positive way in the near future if they aren't already. We need to understand that. So being connected, understanding what's happening, you know, in the state from these leaders and these technologies will help us pivot, whether it's on the training piece and the recruiting piece. These are real exciting technologies. As Dave mentioned, when we talk manufacturing, people automatically go to CNC machining or conventional machining, but there are so many other opportunities in quality and engineering and warehousing and sales and accounting and finance. We need all types of talent these days. So it's incumbent upon people that are tuning in today to hopefully understand that, make an effort if you haven't already to reach out. And another opportunity, not only in the manufacturing community related, is the STEM networks that exist in our state. I believe there are 7. And, you know, we're involved in our local one on the South Shore here, but they do a tremendous job reaching out to whether it's grade schools, middle schools, high schools, community colleges, and industry, and making the connections. And for us at AccuRounds, we've continued hosting students, albeit virtually now versus in person due to the pandemic. But I hosted a junior class from Plymouth North last month, and they were so interested that we're having a follow-up tour of getting more in-depth, taking a process from start to finish, because they're extremely now interested in learning more about, you know, the manufacturing piece of engineering, which to me is extremely exciting. You know, I mentioned some of the new technologies. Dave, Kelly, Sean, if you've had any additional input there, what you've seen, what you might have seen, what you may be aware of in your regions, that may be beneficial for our audience to hear.
Happy to share. I'll defer to Kelly and Dave if you prefer to go first, or let me go.
Go ahead, Sean. No,
So I mentioned a company, CheerPack. This isn't a promotion. I hardly know them other than our company works with them in a client relationship, but I've been there on a manufacturing day tour. I was blown away. I've looked at their studies of what happened when they went through a digital transformation. And that's what happened. I don't know if you saw this when I was speaking about the pack. My son ate this for breakfast. This was apple juice. They don't put the apple juice in there. They make the package. They have solar up on their roof that allows them not to waste money on electricity. They have processes and tools in place so that their people don't have to bend over and lift, blow out their back. They have a real-time look at what's going on. Operational intelligence, it's the integration of the tech that can be done, it can be implemented, it can be done safely. Cybersecurity is the starting point, and then the digital transformation begins without investment. It begins by improving your processes. We can help you with that, but then from there, then you start making investments and converging your information and your operation. So that's IT, your IT department, plus your operation, and then it democratizes, it makes available the science, the math, the engineering, the art, the technology. It makes that available to the blue collar person who's working on the shop floor. So we're talking about data, we're talking about the digital thread or the connectivity through the cloud and other computing capabilities that will allow companies to have that ability to have a true image of what their company looks like, drive out the waste, and then you can start to use that data that you're collecting to take even greater leaps in terms of decision making. You'll have information, true, accurate information, when you get to that point, that'll help you make your decision at any given point in your operations for the better, right? In alignment with the organization, with the company's goal. That's pretty powerful. In terms of coding, in terms of learning how to program and stuff, we have another company in Massachusetts, again, not another plug, iRobot. I'm teaching my 5-year-old, well, it's teaching my 5-year-old how to code. It's super simple. It's click and drag on an iPad, and then they can make this little thing called Root float around. And this is just like the Roomba that they make, the little vacuum. They design here in Mass. They don't manufacture here in Mass, but this is very cool. They're playing in the education space. I'm not sure that coding is for everyone, but it's very accessible. It's just a language. It's another way to learn, and that's how you can speak to the robots. I'm not a proponent of saying go and throw all your money at tech. Make sure it makes sense first, but when you are ready to grow and implement tech into your business, the next generation is going to have the skills to do it. And as for the next generation, show up and keep showing up and keep trying your best. You're going to learn. You go to school to learn how to learn. You go to work and you're going to continue to learn for the rest of your life. Go ahead. Yeah.
What you heard Sean, I think what you heard Sean talking about is the one word that I think Massachusetts is known for, and that's innovation. It's not only innovation to level of technologies, but it's innovation at the workforce level as well. As I think all of you know, we're a state that is driven primarily by small and medium-sized manufacturing companies. That's where job creation is going to occur over the next 5 to 10 years. And most of the advanced manufacturing companies I know Mike is familiar with because he owns 2 of them, they're very committed to the following thing. They understand that they are not necessarily companies that have a product. They're parts makers, they're assembly makers. It's critical for them, it's critical for their employees to understand the innovation process, and that they are an integral part of the integration of the innovation process. And when you're marketing manufacturing to young people in general, if they know they're part of an innovation process, that just ratchets up that level of excitement. Your large OEMs are design houses that manufacturing gets pushed into the supply chain, which where most of our SMEs are. But in that supply chain, on that factory floor, there is huge amounts of innovation that are occurring that are going back to the designers so that product, that eventual product, and in many cases product we won't see in the part, again, see the innovation and the strength of innovation. So to Sean's point, which is incredibly well taken, and to Mike's question, the more we can make the case, again, to talent, that when you come into advanced manufacturing, you're going to have an opportunity to be innovative, to be creative, and to influence, again, what that final product looks like in some small way. So those were great examples, Sean, and I think they're powerful examples, again, particularly from a messaging standpoint about our marketing and branding work.
I also talk not so much about the marketing and branding, because that's very important, but I also want to let manufacturers know, if they don't know this, and I know our community, is that a lot of the comprehensive high schools that have not had the ability to offer electives in manufacturing or in the different types of trades, et cetera, that are available, now are being able to look at these as careers, and they're getting designations as called the Innovative Pathways programs. And a lot of the high schools can, we have a multitude, I think it's over 100 high schools throughout the state that have the designation of innovative manufacturing pathway. And they've literally worked with the mass hires to create a pathway where young people who may or may not be going into secondary education immediately have a chance to, one, work and learn about manufacturing, the coding, the things that Sean had mentioned, but also to have certificates so that by the time that they graduate, they have a couple of college courses under their belt and some certificates in the areas of manufacturing. And again, this is all as part of to promote the advanced manufacturing that's out there, the careers and the opportunities are out there. So, and again, with that, we need as many employer partners to get involved with those schools as well. I know that we have at least 3 in North Central alone that we work with on a regular basis, and there's a handful more in Worcester area as well. So I just wanted to make that particular observation that DESE is, the Department of Education is putting forth the opportunity for not only trade schools to work on manufacturing, but comprehensive schools to be able to work on that manufacturing pathway.
Thank you, Kelly. We're about to hit the Q&A session of the webinar. I just wanted to make a couple of final comments here. Dave mentioned purpose, and young kids today do want a purpose. And the story of PPE and MERT, there's no better example of having a purpose in life. And I think we need to understand that, learn about it, and talk about it and promote it. I know here at Acron, we're making parts for vaccine machines, and our team has a sense of pride in doing that work. And finally, safety, health, and wellness. If the pandemic has taught us nothing else, the importance of safety, health, and wellness is first and foremost. And I know with the peers in this state and around the country, they take that extremely seriously. They're leaders, and I'm not sure that the general public knows that. And I think it's incumbent upon us and people that are listening to take that message and spread that as well. So Haley, I see a question in the Q&A here. Should I go to that one, or do you have one for me?
Yeah, you can, I would jump on that. And I know, I think this might help a little bit. I know Dave has some other good talking points as well. That's in the Q&A, it says schools have had a hard time recruiting because of negative publicity that manufacturing has. And this says that's because most people have no idea of what modern manufacturing is all about. And maybe what other opportunities there really are. I think there's also maybe a streamlined or a more of a minimal view on what manufacturing is. So can you guys kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Who wants to take that one?
Maybe I can help out there. Kelly nailed it. So our state has the best education system and so many extracurricular enrichment programs going on. Industry is starting to play ball in that space too. Like, for example, iRobot and other companies that are starting to understand the true value of it's not necessarily an investment that's solely for their benefit, but for all. Because at the end of the day, people go to work and they're mixed in with the general public. You go to work 5 days a week to be with someone that is not within the privacy of your own home. So we have to consider the impact of our business activities on the public. And our education system is filled with students that get that. They know that. That's what I was taught in school. That's a priority. So where do we go from here? First, if you don't know about the opportunities through education, the enrichment activities after school, contact anyone in this room and we'll get you information. We'll work on getting better at connectivity. We'll get better at reaching out so that there is visibility as to what's going on. But it starts with, reaching out. If you don't know, let us know that and we can help give you those answers. In terms of industry gets that too. I alluded to that. There's a new growing reporting index referred to as ESG, environmental social governance. Manufacturing has changed and industry is feeling that change. The world is changing. In a globalized world, competition is hot, and this upcoming generation and the existing generation has already demonstrated as the consumer, what it can do to drive change within industry. This generation has expectations of what the quality of the product is, what type of product they purchase. That drives the life cycle of a product. And I'm speaking to you, industry. And then, of course, your impact of your operation on the general welfare of the environment and the public. That all matters to everybody. And so when when the general public starts to get visibility of that and starts to see that manufacturing is the work, it's the business, and the businesses that come up with real physical solutions.
Thanks, Sean. There's two thoughts come to mind. The plant tours, get students to see it. There's no greater impact than that. And we all know that, and the people have been involved in those activities. Second, I think one of the best opportunities for kids to get introduced to advanced manufacturing is join a robotics team. Everybody knows about FIRST Robotics. There's the National Robotics League run by the NTMA. That's more of a BattleBot style that brings in, I think, a little more of the troubleshooting, soft skill piece. So I'd encourage people to research and look into both of those opportunities. Kelly, Dave, you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I think, Mike, as you said, a good number of young people, at least the ones I'm familiar with, are very much visual learners. And the opportunity to walk a factory floor, but not only to walk the factory floor, but to have a tour where they can see, again, as I mentioned earlier, about the importance of the business of manufacturing, the many, many different careers that are involved, again, in the manufacturing industry. And again, it goes back to this issue of connectivity, of getting employers and the educational community together, working collaboratively, again, to make sure the young people have an opportunity to, as Mike said, to see firsthand live what it looks like. Mike just mentioned a group of young people that came to his facility recently, who, again, walked the entire building. What was their next ask? They want to come back again. And I guarantee you, when they come back again, some of them are going to want to come back a third time. And some of them, before they go out the door, are going to ask Mike Tomasi if he has any jobs. So that's the kind of cascading that you do when you go out and intentionally build those kind of relationships.
And that was virtual. So hopefully they'll be on.
That virtual piece is wonderful now. We have to see that we're still in the midst of COVID and the schools are working remotely and are struggling. So, again, like the mass hire manufacturing day, one of the things that was so important was those videos that companies have already created, that have already have their products and have shown how exciting they are. So even being able to have a portfolio of those videos that we can offer to students right now, that's a real easy takeaway.
Kelly, one of the power of the video right now is that it gives young people an opportunity to sit down with their parents and to virtually sit down with their guidance counselors and to really have some really significant conversation about pursuing advanced manufacturing, pursuing engineering as a career, and sitting down together and looking at that video, looking at that facility. It has a way of dispelling the dark, dirty, and dangerous and moving to the safe, smart, and sustainable. So this real power that I think has come out of our last 10 months experience, we need to seize it, we need to work with it, and we need to be sure we implement it.
The other piece of that is, again, looking what's in your backyard. People see these big buildings, but they don't know what are inside them. And they're literally within walking distance in some cases. And so for them to understand what's actually going on in their backyard, to be excited that it's in their town that's making this product, that pride of in an opportunity to be in that company is also another piece of this that we're seeing with students.
Great. Thanks, Kelly. Haley, do we have another question?
Yeah, so I do know, Mike, that I think it's Robert. He did put his hand up. So Robert, do you, I did mute everybody. And then like I asked, if you do have a question, please put your hand up and then unmute yourself and then you can ask your question. So Robert, do you have a question? I know you sent a couple in, but would you like to ask the panel something?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for inviting me to this webinar. I'm a teacher currently. My two virtual classes are in there watching videos about manufacturing. I just wanted to say that I've been in the business on the manufacturing end for 20 plus years, and I've been in the teaching end for 20 plus years. I am at a comprehensive school, and we do face a little different challenge than our true vocational brothers. That, you know, the recruitment aspect of a comprehensive school is a little more challenging because we're fighting with the college-bound track students as well as the other 9 programs in my school. So I do tour local companies, and I know Mr. Cruz very well. He's helped our program out immensely here at Chicopee Comp, and through workforce development and other things, we do get quite a bit of people in here, but we still, my question stated that the rub is still that there's this negative connotation about manufacturing. I hear it from parents at open house. I hear it from people in industry, not the people in the industry itself, but from other people saying, yeah, you don't want to go into manufacturing. And honestly, I'm telling you, myself and my friends at STCC, we struggle with that a lot. And it's like, we at Western Mass has a lot of good shops, and I've toured many of them, and they employ several of my students right now. So I just don't know. I'm going through the recruitment process right now, so I don't know how we can get over that one gigantic hurdle that's plagued us for the last 20 years. Any thoughts?
Rob, it's a tough one. I mean, we've been battling it for years. I have an article from 1978 that my father was featured in that said, just give me a few good men. So this is not a new issue. We need to just do it through grassroots activity. There was a question that came in, how can we introduce manufacturing to younger students? We've toured students down to the 4th grade level. I was a little nervous about letting 4th graders into our manufacturing plant, but I got to tell you, might have been the best tour we've ever had. The kids were all fired up. They all wrote thank you notes. So now they have an image, a positive image of advanced manufacturing. So high schools kind of too late, unfortunately. You got to target middle schools, and if you can get a grade school or 2 in, I think that's great. So it's not going to change overnight, but every little act that we can do to the positive is going to make a difference down the road.
Yeah, you know, Mike, I think, you know, in response to Bob's question, and Bob is, you know, true professional and does great work with his students up at Chicopee Comp. But, you know, to Bob's point, he's recruiting 8th graders when they come into grade 9 during his exploratory program, where he's trying to make the case to them to look at manufacturing as a potential place to be the next 3 to 4 years. And again, I think that speaks that we also have a lot of work to do to educate parents, because again, 7th graders and 8th graders, in many cases, are not making that decision. If they are making it, they're highly influenced, again, by how their parents or guardians see manufacturing. So not only do we have a layer of work to convince the students, we also have a layer of work, again, to make a really powerful and compelling case to parents that, yes, this is a place for college-bound students. Yes, this company is a place for somebody who will be a college-bound student, but it may take them a decade to get that degree. There's a place for everybody there. Manufacturing does not leave anybody behind. If you want to be in this business, there's a place for you along, again, this continuum of employment. And again, what I describe as the business of manufacturing.
In the futures and the Manufacturing USA Institutes that Sean introduced us to, the Mass Bridge activity, that needs to be highlighted, understood, explained, and spread to our local community. Haley, I know we're bumping up against time.
Yeah, we do have one more question, and obviously I'm partial to this one, but Mary Jo asked, are there any specific things that can demystify manufacturing as a valid path for females? Yeah, great question, Mary Jo.
Well, I have to say, you know, we're working very hard to really work on the opportunities for females. And this, again, it's a long-term strategy to move people forward into the whole realm of understanding manufacturing, getting that old stigma out, making it exciting, realizing again that it's not a male or female world, that females can, can work on all of the different STEM type careers that are available. And again, all of those careers are part of the ecosystem of manufacturing. So I think it's a matter of when we go into the schools and when we provide these opportunities is making the collateral, making the videos, making things that are available with female role models. And we're working on that. We're working on that every day. And so I think that's another piece that we really just need to continue to do as part of this whole force of bringing these types of careers and this whole opportunity that gives us products that we're sitting on, that we're looking on, and that we need to protect us. This is a great opportunity for us to share that. I'm glad you thought about that. We are working on that, and it is, again, it is not a traditional career, so it's really difficult to move that needle forward, but with your help, I know we can do it.
I'll say this, our co-op program in the last 3 or 4 years is about 50-50 male, female. Our current co-op is a female, she's awesome. And we've hired females out of high school, so we encourage that as much as possible. I know we're just over the time limit here. Kelly, what would you like us to do?
So we just, for further engagement for the audience, we do have 2 poll questions that we would like to ask you. And this gives us an idea as to, where you are in the audience, what you are in need of at this moment. And it also helps our panelists because we do have each of these subject matter experts on with us, and they are able to give you a little bit more information. And maybe, we are asking you if you're interested, how we can reach out and maybe have direct conversations with you and regarding, the ways that we can help you maybe answer some of these questions that you've brought up during the event today. Just like what Kelly and Dave and Mike and Sean have all answered. So I'm going to give this a couple more seconds. It's great. It's great to see that we have a good amount of responses. And then I'll throw up, we have one more poll. And then we just would, we'd like to, thank everyone for being on with us today while we're waiting for these polls to kind of wrap up. I think we have, okay, so Diane Rose is the CTE director. So yeah, so there we have our first poll, and then I'm going to jump in. We're going to release the second poll and we'll see where everybody goes with that. And then I'm going to finish this last Q&A here. And let's do poll 2. This is kind of the pipeline and how you would like to get involved. So obviously all of our panelists that are on with us today, they're involved. They're extremely involved. So we kind of want to know how you want to get involved with, if you aren't already, if you're interested in doing it, this is a great way for us to reach out and get you onto that next step. So yeah, Diane just wrote in, she's a CTE director at a comprehensive high school that is slated to close the advanced manufacturing program at the end of the school year due to low enrollment and lack of funds to retool the program to meet the newly released mass frameworks. She said she's fighting to keep it open, and any help and suggestions and of course collaboration would be greatly appreciated. And she did put in her email address. So I'm sure that there's definitely somebody in this group that will be able to help you out.
I'll contact Diane.
Awesome. Yep. So look for an email from Mr. Mike Tomasi. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that joined us today. Obviously, we thank you very much. Mike, congratulations on your first hosting gig. We appreciate you being on with us and doing this for us. And thanks to our panelists. Thank you, Kelly, Dave, and Sean, for taking your time out of your day as well. So we really appreciate it. We hope everybody found this information really important and had a couple of takeaways from this today. But please feel free to reach out to us. I had a slide here, but for some reason I can't get it to come up. So I apologize, but you can always reach out to us at massmep.org. Mike Tomasi is with AccuRounds, and then we also have Kelly and Dave that are both with Mass Hire. So I would be happy to pass along any of the information. Sean's got a fancy little thing there that slides his email address right in there for you, but please feel free to reach out to me if you want their information, and I will be happy to forward it on to you. So thanks everybody for participating, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.